There's been so much talk lately and cultural insistence that America is, at bottom, a fundamentally evil place. That it's some kind of cis-heteronormative, patriarchal, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, all the phobics, hellscape. That America was founded and predicated essentially on racism, hatred, and oppression. And that basically we should just dismantle the entire enterprise and start over. Case in point, Representative Crockett here, who made this impassioned speech last week.
You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression.
Okay, fair enough. And on the floor of the House, no less. But if she actually knew anything at all about history and not just histrionics, she would know that she's absolutely and completely wrong. She would know, for example, that slavery was a ubiquitous and constant practice among our species in every civilization, country, and region of the world throughout all time. She would know that between the 16th and 18th centuries, 1.5 million, if not more, white Europeans were stolen from Europe by African slave traders and dragged across an ocean to Africa, where the men and boys were castrated and worked to death, and the women and girls were raped to death. Horrors beyond our modern imaginings. So many white Slavic Europeans were taken as slaves to Africa, for example, that the word Slav literally means slave. She would know that our first actual international conflict as a nation was when Thomas Jefferson, and this is a bit ironic actually, sent a fleet of ships to North Africa to recover Americans who had been taken by the Barbary pirates as slaves. If the phrase "to the shores of Tripoli" rings a bell, that's what it's about. America didn't start slavery. America ended slavery. Hundreds of thousands of American men died ending slavery. And then the British went around the world ending slavery. And you know who didn't want to end slavery? The West African slave empires who were making a fortune capturing their tribal enemies and selling them around the world, most prominently to North Africa and the Islamic empires there. A slave trade of such indescribable horror and scope that it dwarfs almost anything else in history. She would know these things, but for some reason, we don't teach history anymore. Human rights, women's rights, gay rights, the right to believe and worship what you will, the right to say whatever the fuck you want, the right to not be a slave. These are the foundations and hope of America. A hope that emanates like a light out into the rest of the world. That's the truth of America. And it's a hell of a thing, that light. Sacred, fragile, and precious. There's a famous story, and I hope it's true, that when the founders had just finished drafting the Constitution after the War of Independence, a woman approached Benjamin Franklin and asked him, "Sir, what have you men made in there?" He looked at her and after a moment said, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." And we are here now to keep it.